The Truth by Terry Pratchett. Come closer, settle in. This is a story about movable type, a young man named William de Worde, and the moment Ankh-Morpork discovers that news is a substance you can spill. On the disc, words have always been dangerous. Now they can be copied. William comes from a family that thinks ink should stay in ledgers. He thinks otherwise, which is how you get the Ankh-Morpork Times, or the Inquirer, depending on the edition and the lies. Sacharissa Cripslock can spell, which is a superpower. Otto Creek, a vampire iconographer, takes pictures that are also slightly a bite, ethically sourced. Gunilla Goodmountain and the Dwarfs bring a press that does not care about anyone's feelings. Lord Vetinari is framed for a crime because a city that has just invented headlines is hungry for a simple villain. Mr. Pin and Mr. Tulip arrive to supply simplicity with a side of extreme violence and a surprising interest in remaining art. They are not journalists. They are what happens when someone wants the news to have a preferred ending. William learns that printing the truth is not the same as knowing it. A fact is a frightened animal. You can chase it into a paragraph and still not have caught it. The Times prints anyway, because a city this size cannot run on rumor alone, though it will try. Mr. Slant the zombie lawyer explains libel. The new firm explains consequences. Mr. Tulip explains, in his way, that civilization is sticky. In the end, the press does not become virtuous. It becomes inevitable. Vetinari, who understands tools, does not smash it. He reads it. That is more frightening. Pin and Tulip meet the kind of ending the city reserves for people who treat lives as type you can reset. William stays. Not because he is brave. Because the next edition will exist whether he is good or not, and he would rather it were better. If you are still awake, remember this: a free press is a golem, clay and words, easy to misuse, hard to unmake. Sleep well. The ink is drying. Tomorrow's lie has not been set yet. Movable type is a dwarfish practicality. Humans add panic. Together they invent the public. The public is loud and necessary and often wrong before lunch. Sacharissa does not need to be saved. She needs the spelling to be right and the men to stop wasting time. William, to his credit, notices. Otto's iconographs are the first draft of celebrity. The disc was not ready, which is the correct amount of ready. Vetinari framed is a city testing whether law is a person or a habit. Habits, it turns out, are harder to kidnap. Vims would agree, if he were the point of this particular story, which he is only at the edges, like a watermark. Mr. Pin wants control. Mr. Tulip wants, amid the horror, not to be only horror. Pratchett does not forgive them. He does something more uncomfortable. He notices they are still people while they do unforgivable things. The Inquirer prints what the Times will not, which is how you learn what a city is hungry for. Hunger is not the same as need. Need is closer to bread. Hunger will eat type. Good Mountain's press does not have an opinion. That is why opinions suddenly matter more. A tool without a soul makes the souls around it shout. William's father represents the old silence, news as private letters between important men. The Times is news as weather. Everyone gets wet. When the edition hits the street, Ankh-Morpork hears itself for the first time and does not like the accent. It keeps buying copies. That is how you know a revolution has succeeded. There. The lamp is low. The composing stick is empty. Tomorrow there will be another truth, another correction, and a vampire with a darkroom. For tonight, the words can sleep in their trays. The first sound of a press is not noble. It is clank, squeeze, and a dwarf swearing at a roller. Revolutions that sound noble are usually plays. This one smells of ink. William's family name was built to sit above the city. He climbs down into it, which his father treats as a fall and the streets treat as a rival. Sacharissa's pencil is a weapon that refuses to misspell the names of the dead. That is a moral position disguised as grammar. Otto's flash illuminates faces that preferred the dark. Celebrity is just light that got nosy. The disc will never recover, and will buy extra copies. Pin and tulip are a sentence the city tries not to print and then prints anyway, because violence is also news. The Times has to decide whether to be a mirror or a rag. Some days it is both before noon. Vetinari does not ban the paper. Bans are for people who fear tools. He subscribes. A tyrant who reads you is a more intimate problem than a tyrant who burns you. Libel, Mr. Slant explains, is what happens when a fact puts on the wrong coat. The law notices coats. The public notices headlines. Between them, William learns to dress his paragraphs. At night the type is 1,000 tiny future arguments sleeping in rows. William turns down the lamp and does not pray. He checks the for me instead. That is the new piety, alignment. Consider the public as a new species. It reads. It shouts. It is wrong at speed and occasionally right in a way that cannot be put back in the bottle. William did not mean to invent a species. He meant to pay rent. The press does not care about meaning to. Sacharissa treats facts like lodgers. They must wash, have names, and leave by morning if they cannot pay. William treats facts like relatives, embarrassing, necessary, possibly armed. Together they nearly resemble a newspaper. Otto's pictures are bites that do not draw blood, which is progress for a vampire and a complication for everyone with a face. Faces, it turns out, are public property now. The disc will sue and buy extra copies in the same afternoon. Pin wanted a narrative. Tulip wanted, amid the wreckage, not to be only wreckage. The city gave them a headline instead of a soul. Headlines are cheaper. Vetinari subscription is a joke the palace tells itself until it isn't. A ruler who allows type is a ruler who thinks he can outread the street. Some days he can. The days he cannot are why William stays late. Alignment in the for me is piety. So is spelling the dead correctly. So is not inventing a war because the Inquirer did. The Times will fail these tests. It will fail them in public, which is the new kind of honor. Sleep. Type in rose. Ink on skin. Tomorrow's edition is empty and therefore infinite, which is the only infinity a city can afford. One more thing before the lamp goes. Type is small. That is why it fits in so many heads. William did not ask to be a weather system. He asked to be paid. The city paid him in readers, which is a currency that bites. He stays anyway, because empty trays are worse than angry ones. Sacharissa will correct the spelling of tomorrow's disaster. Otto will light it. The dwarfs will print it. Vetinari will fold it twice and remember. That is a government of sorts, and a bedtime of sorts, and quite enough news for one night. Ink under the nails is a class marker now. William's father had clean nails and dirty secrets. William has the reverse, which the Times treats as a house style. A headline is a fist. A correction is an apology that arrives after the bruise. Sacharissa tries to land the fist on the right nose. Otto lights the nose. The dwarfs make 1,000 noses. This is industry. Pin believed Control was a font you could choose. Tulip believed, in flashes, in stained glass. Neither is a newsroom skill. The newsroom skill is staying late without becoming the thing you describe. William fails this some nights. He names the failure in 9-point type, which is progress. Readers are a weather system with pennies. They buy heat. They buy fear. Occasionally they buy the temperature. The Times tries to be a thermometer. Thermometers get accused of causing fevers. Vetinari, who causes fevers for a living, finds this funny in a thin way. Night after night the press is washed. Washing a press is how you admit tomorrow might be different. If it were the same, you could leave the ink. They never leave the ink. That is hope, disguised as maintenance. Sleep beside the trays. Let the public snore. Morning will invent itself in metal, one letter at a time, which is slower than rumor and slightly more ashamed, which will have to do.